Welcome to another episode of Cut Content, and today we'll be talking about the first 3 Sonic games. But talking about something this big, I'm gonna need someone to help me. Someone awesome, someone smart, someone like an ant who can pick up a bunch of stuff and help me move it. I think I know just the person. Everyone, welcome Antdude to the video.
Hey man, thanks for having me on the show. This is awesome. I'm a huge fan of classic Sonic games, so I would love to help push some of this cut content into your video.
That sounds great to me. Let's grab some Sonic content and throw it right at the viewers. Starting off with Sonic 1, let's hit things off right from the title screen. Pressing up, down, left, right, then holding A and pressing start will bring you to the level select screen. This isn't too crazy, but the order of levels in this select screen are not the same as when you play the actual game. So many speculate that the order in this select screen was how the game was originally going to play out.
What's really interesting about Sonic 1 is just the crazy amount of sprites that went unused. This first batch are from the special stages, which included labels for zones 1 through 6, assuming they were going to be used to figure out which special stage you were currently in. There was also a 1-up icon that appears in the manual for the game, but never in the game itself. But it has been programmed back in by a few hackers. And the last icon is just a W, which currently has no meaning that anyone can figure out, but my best guess is something like winning or warning, maybe even Wumbo. Who knows really, the possibilities are endless.
Well, the creators of the game probably know, but seems like they don't want to spill the beans. There was also a few monitors in the game that are never used, which include a Robotnik monitor, which would have hurt you just like it does in Sonic 2, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. A monitor with goggles on them, which would have given you the goggles that are still in the code of the game, most likely used for breathing underwater. There was also a static monitor that is only displayed when there is an error in the game's code, and a monitor with an S on it, which also appears in the Sonic CD prototype that gave Sonic a speed boost.
Come on now, as if there's enough blast processing to allow Sonic to have more speed. But actually, there is a chance he could have been faster with the help of the spin dash, which may have been included if these sprites were intended as such. There was also a different sprite for taking in air, as well as one of Sonic holding his breath. There's also one of Sonic sliding, similar to Sonic CD, along with these odd sprites of Sonic shrinking or maybe falling into a hole. This cut kinda makes sense, as there's no area in the final game that this animation would fit. But my favorite sprite of the whole lot is an unused victory pose that may have shown up once passing a goalpost.
There are also a few missing sprites from the levels in the game too. Green Hill Zone, for example, was going to use a giant checker ball like the one when you fight Eggman, and you would have been able to roll around on it and break walls with it. There was also 2 faces that were from the earlier prototypes of the game, and an unused tile set that was later used in the 8-bit version of the game. Marble Zone was also going to have a giant spike wall that would have moved horizontally.
Spring Yard Zone also included a neon sign that said "Let's Go," but that was never used. Labyrinth Zone has a sprite for a Burrowbot facing downward so that they would roll down walls, which could have looked a bit weird. And then Starlight Zone also included a few unused lights as well as unused machinery. And lastly, Dr. Robotnik's vehicle was originally going to have feet that would come out of it, and that looks even more weird.
The last few things never used in Sonic 1, first off, was a piece of text that said, "Press start button." This is in the game, but due to a programmer's fault is never displayed. There was also going to be another enemy called Splats the Bunny, which had a ton of promotional material, including cards and other items, but must have been cut late into development. Dr. Robotnik was also supposed to blow up at the end of the game, but that was most likely changed to make it more child-friendly or allow for a sequel. The last thing interesting that was cut is a chunk of red grass that doesn't match any tile sets in the game and has no real purpose. Could this be the start of a super creepy pasta? We may never know.
Alright, it's time to stop talking about Sonic 1 and to start talking about the sequel. A game that is filled with so much cut content that I can only imagine what developing this game must have been like. It must have been ridiculous.
Yeah, just looking, I think you may be right, Ant. There are plenty of unused sprites I can see, including an unused door from Aquatic Ruin Zone, an unused frame for the Valkyrie that had it standing in place, a walking animation for the turtles, a large laser shooting through a rotating platform, a platform made of rings, a spinning pole that can hurt you and be destroyed, a static display that hurts you when broken, and a monitor and death egg zone that has Robotnik on it was supposed to laugh when you lose rings. But since the level has no rings, this animation never shows up.
Speaking of never showing up, there was also going to be a score tally for levels that only had one act. And it was supposed to say Sonic got through zone, but this went unused as levels that only have one act in them don't have any score tallies, period. And on top of that, there are a bunch of levels with unobtainable rings, including Aquatic Ruin 2, Casino Night 2, Mystic Cave 2, Oil Ocean 2, and Metropolis 2. Something about those twos.
Yeah, and there are even 6 levels that were never used in the final release of the game. The first of these being Wood Zone, an elaborate maze of giant trees. The level can still be played in an early prototype of the game, but is extremely short and doesn't have much in it.
Similarly to Wood Zone, but just a bit more creepy, there was going to be a level called Genocide City Zone, though it was eventually renamed to Cyber City. The name Genocide City was apparently chosen due to the development team's quote-unquote not quite complete grasp on the English language. The level is completely unplayable in the beta, but from the concept art, the city featured mostly mechanical parts, hence the less creepy name Cyber City.
There was also another level called Dust Hill Zone. This one is interesting since there was a mock-up based on the level released for promotional material, so we can actually see what the level may have looked like. It was going to be a desert level with both above ground and underground aspects to it. But more interestingly, 2 other unused levels are connected to this one. The first is Rock Zone, that was going to be a past version of Dust Hill Zone, but time travel was quickly dropped from the table. The second was a Winter Zone that would have used the same tile set as Dust Hill Zone, just retextured and the cactuses replaced with trees and such.
But easily the most well-known of the cut levels was Hidden Palace Zone. This level was going to be accessible after getting all 7 of the Chaos Emeralds, and once it was completed, then you would unlock Super Sonic as opposed to that ability just being handed to you. It featured many unused enemies like Reds, B-Bat, a Stego, and also a few rumored enemies, Bee-Fish, Bubbler, Bubbler's mother, and a gator. And despite being cut from the final product, it actually does have a music track that you can listen to in the sound test. Another version of the song was also featured on the original composer Masato Nakamura's Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2 soundtrack, which featured demo versions of songs from both games. And in the soundtrack, it was simply titled STH2 Unused Song. And what's really cool about Hidden Palace Zone now is that you can officially play the level in the mobile version of the game. It's not an exact recreation of what the original design was going to be, and instead of playing the music that was cut, it plays Mystic Cave Zone's 2-player song, but regardless of that, it's cool that we have a version of Sonic 2 with this level fully playable.
Yeah, there is an insane amount of cut content from Sonic 2, and many fans have tried to recreate the game as full as possible, and if you wish to play any of these levels that we talked about, there are plenty of ways to do it. Just search it up online, it's pretty easy. But let's hop into some Sonic 3 now.
Coming after Sonic 2, Sonic 3 really doesn't have that much content that was left out. Possibly the most interesting tidbit was Knuckles possibly being playable without the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge. You can select him by entering a Game Genie code, and though you would eventually still play as Sonic, completing a level will feature text that says that Knuckles completed the act instead, as well as the echidna showing his face on the signpost, except he's all blue. Probably a bit sad he would still be unplayable for a little while longer.
There was also going to be an 8th special stage for another Gray Chaos Emerald, which is still fully playable in the game. There are also many leftovers from things removed to be put into Sonic and Knuckles, most notably Flying Battery Zone. One thing I do find very interesting is that Carnival Night has a different color palette never used, which makes it super cool and purple.
Some unused sprites in Sonic 3 include Sonic falling asleep after being in his waiting animation for long enough, Sonic whistling, multiple unused gliding and climbing animations for Knuckles in 2-player mode, Dr. Robotnik out of his vehicle with a different facial expression, another of him in his vehicle flying away into the horizon, a really small death egg that was going to be used in a cut hologram projector in Sonic and Knuckles, and lastly a few sprites of the Penguin Badnik going diagonal.
Wow, Sonic has a lot of cut content, and we didn't even talk about anything past the third game. Well, I guess that will be for another video, but till then, let's give Antdude a huge thank you for helping me with this crazy project. Do you have any last words, Ant?
No, not particularly. Shouldn't you be wrapping this up soon anyway? I mean, you know what the blue guy says. You gotta go fast!
Did someone say, gotta go fast?
Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast!
Seriously though, go check out Antdude's channel. There's going to be a card popping up right now that'll link you to one of his amazing videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching, and I just have to give an amazing shout out to my awesome Patreons. Without them, my channel would not be possible. If you wish to help support, click the card appearing now. I'd like to thank Rob Liberty, Andre Drulard, Thomas Bethel, and the YouTubers Save Load, Possum Gamer, Cray Trey, The Game Plank, and After End Media.
Yeah.